RW 是我十分敬畏的一支队伍，在我们无比自信的时候，是他们给了我们当头一棒，让我们清楚地认识到了自己的不足。
相比 RNG 和 ED 这些决赛常客，对于我们和 IG 而言，不管自己的成绩有多好，都必须保持谦虚，不断学习。
人们总是会考虑我和朱云碧谁更好，但实际上正是这样的上坡竞争，才能让我们两个人都不断进步。
春季赛的时候，我们一起打了季军赛，大家内心都很不甘心。这一次不如我们在决赛上位吧？你觉得 OK 吗？
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your pee break as much as I did, because we're about to get into our next set between TOP and Suning Gaming. We've done a quick caster hot swap. Frosky, how are you doing?
Can I get off the desk now?
You are committed to this for the next best of 3.
Oh,
I
mercy.
hope you enjoy how much fun we're going to be having. Because again, this is the appetizer. This is a warm-up for our match of the week, which is coming up just after that. IG versus Rogue Warriors is our third set for the day. So hopefully this should get the crowd all riled up before that game.
Yeah, I feel like we got a nice little taste tester, as you were saying. It's TOP versus Suning, which is kind of like our definitive middle of the pack, or our bench marker, if you will, in terms of the difference between lower tier teams and higher tier teams. And then, of course, we have Invictus Gaming versus Rogue Warriors, the fight for first, the cream of the top? Is that what they call it?
The cream of the crop.
That one.
Yes. That's the one that you make the cream out of. But again, TOP, they're at 5-7. Suning are at 6-6 right now. Both teams have played 12 games. This will be their last cross-conference game.
That was dangerous coming out of your mouth.
Look, there's a lot of stuff going on today. And like you said, this is the big decider, because both of these teams are chasing down that 4th place spot. With RNG's victory, that makes 4th place so much more important for Suning to take the win. Same thing for TOP. They're chasing Rogue Warriors, ADG, and Snake.
Yeah, the fight for 4th. Now, the thing is the difference between these two teams is that Suning are a much more consistent team. They lose against the bottom 4 teams, and they have not yet taken down one of the top 4 teams. I'm not talking about Snake Esports anymore. It's Edward Gaming, Rogue Warriors, Invictus Gaming, and JDG, since RNG have been a little bit up and down. On the other side, though, you have TOP, who have managed to take down JD Gaming, but then haven't broken any of the top 4, and then sometimes fall down to Team WE, sometimes fall down to OMG, and it gets a little bit messy.
Yeah, of course, we've seen a lot of that. I mean, even in the set that we just saw with RNG dropping that first game, we know how important these wins are in swinging that momentum back and forth. So as we said, for the stakes of these games, this is the one that sets momentum as they go back into intra-conference play. Obviously, for Suning, it's a little bit less concerning, because more concerning, because they're fighting with LGD and BLG. TOP on the other side, they're fighting Snake, OMG, FPX, and maybe WE can still make a run. So lots of names.
Yeah, in the reality, the Western Conference is much more open for TOP to kind of make that playoff run. That said, I don't expect them to make a deep run, but already going from one of the teams with the longest losing streak that the LPL has ever seen to now a possible berth at playoffs is a massive upswing for them. And the sky really is the limits. You know, they are the underdog. Everyone has effectively counted them out, which means that they can sucker punch at any time. Whereas Suning are really chasing that playoff hunger.
I mean, we've been calling TOP the feasible 5 for quite some time now. This is the team that has Marin on the roster but isn't playing him. This is the team with Moyus and Lies, with Korn and Goong in the mid lane, but they've been sticking with Korn. Of course, they're going up against Angel, Xiao, Hacker, Fury, and Ryun. On the other side, you can see it's Moyu, XX, Korn, Chocho, and Cat as we get into pick and ban for this game 1 between TOP and Suning.
And I understand that TOP are recognized as the feasible 5, but I want to hone in the audience's attention to 3 key members. And I'm going to be talking about Korn, XX, and Cat, because for me, these 3 members are the 3 primary playmakers for TOP. And if you go back, you watch the tape, and you figure out how TOP have now assembled themselves into a passable or a solid middle-of-the-pack team, it's based off the back of those 3 players and their ability to get involved in the early game. So you're looking for assassins, you're looking for all-in supports, and you're looking for dueling-oriented junglers.
We'll see what those are going to be for TOP as they find themselves with side selection. They have chosen blue side, and it's actually a Swain first pick for TOP. So that mage bottom perhaps for Chocho. But that does leave the mid lane open for Angel.
It's 100% for Chocho. Now, majority of his picks have been towards the mages. He's only played at 11 ADCs versus 18 mages. His primary big pick is Swain as well as the Vladimir. And Swain works really well in also unlocking Cat. And again, Cat is one of those names, is the big primary playmakers, and he has a wealth of options about what all-in support that he wants to play, which is why the Tahm Kench pick is so important against TOP. You know that Cat, with the Swain, wants to run a kill-oriented bot lane, so Suning are just trying to grab as many defenses as possible.
Especially when you pair that with the Lamb's respite from Kindred. Hacker, we know, likes to play deep in the enemy jungle if he ever finds the opening, which is somewhat why he synergizes so well with Angel, who enables him to do that. Of course, we'll see how that works out if he decides to play towards the bottom side or mid or even top lane, considering how Xiao Al has been performing. Whereas Korn now picks himself up the Aurelia. Of course, he is a legacy player in the LPL, a huge veteran going to the World Finals with Starhorn Royal Club. Now he finds himself on the team with the record for the longest losing streak in LPL history, looking for redemption against Suning.
And he has been turning it around with the likes of the Aurelias, the Yasuos, and the Talons. Korn is all about the assassin play, and the Gragas ban is something that I really want to put people's eyes onto for Suning Gaming. Now, Gragas is so important for TOP because he unlocks the ability for level 2 and level 3 ganks. Where do those ganks go? They go onto Korn's lane. And it's not Gragas this time around, but it's the exact same type of champion in that dueling heavy gank champion in Trundle. And with Aurelia Trundle, TOP have already shown their hands and said, okay, we're going to camp mid lane, we're going to unlock Korn, and then we're probably going to go bottom. So at this point in the ban stage, Suning need to say, we have the Tahm Kench, it's now about taking away all of the hard supports. If they want to ban the Shin, if they want to ban the Pyke, the Alistar, take all of the tools away from Cat, because we've now picked the Ashe, and we have to say, we just must survive this.
Yes, the Rakan could still be another pick that we see taken by the bottom lane of TOP.
He actually doesn't play it much.
He doesn't, but it's still, there's always time to learn. Uzi was able to do it with Xayah just after Worlds. But Ryze is the ban away. We're still getting the chance to see Angel's counter pick. We'll see what that is, if they save counter pick for Angel or Xiao Al, because we haven't seen the top lane yet for Moyu. So that would be blind. One of the two has to be shown in that next round, whereas Kennen is banned away from Moyu. So Alistar's still an option for Cat.
Really interesting that they're giving the Alistar towards Cat. Now, Xiao Al is one of the primary carry points for Suning. If TOP, it's all about their mid lane going bottom. Suning, for the longest time, it used to be about their jungler going top. Yeah. Now, I was talking to Rusty backstage. He's had the pleasure of casting a lot of Suning's games. And he was like, it's starting to shift a little bit. It's no longer all about Xiao Al in the top lane. They're starting to give more priority towards Fury and Yoon. You can see that in the fact that they've already selected their bottom lane early on, but you know that Xiao Al will always be a carry for the team if needed be, so giving him that counter pick is going to be a viable option.
Interestingly enough, we did not see a second ban.
Leave it all open.
Out of TOP. And that seems like that might be what they're doing. Now, Gnar is being looked at right now from Xiao Al. Again, this is blind. There are plenty of counter options available. Mundo, Cho'Gath is like we just saw in the last set. Ornn for Engage. Or a Tryndamere.
I don't think it's going to be
Jojo's just giving us the chuckle here.
I think it'll be GP. It seems to be the go-to globally that we've seen as Gnar starts to rise back in priority. Kennen, of course, is one of the few champions that can match the Gnar into the lane. So as soon as you see the Kennen ban, it was pretty obvious that it was going to be a Gnar, which is why it's really curious that TOP didn't take the opportunity to ban it. Maybe they would rather face the Gnar than something like Xiao Al's Mundo.
Instead, we'll see what that counter pick is going to be, because now it's time. Cards on the table, Moyu. Fifth card has been shown. Betting is all done. Let's see what you've got against Xiao Al on that Gnar.
He doesn't need to take anything explosive. Kled certainly fits in that explosive range. Because again, you look at this composition, it should all be about putting your priority in the bottom lane, making sure that you unlock top, and then moving down to the bot lane. What works best with that? The gangplank that has the ult.
Yeah, even stacking it that much more by taking that gangplank, dropping the cannon barrage on any lanes that might need any assistance. That said, we're seeing Angel return to his Lissandra in the mid lane. It's got great wave clear, it's got great CC, very good gank assist. Heck, it's even great at turning around ganks, and Angel has been making a name for himself as a bit of a battle angel by roaming around to those side lanes.
I appreciate your battle angel reference. That said, for me, this is Angel's pick of Orianna. Not that he doesn't play Orianna, but he usually reaches for the Lissandra, and they do very similar things. They're going to be a defensive mage pick that's going to prioritize clearing the wave and is basically neutralizing your lane. Now, it can help set up for his jungler, in this case the Kindred, but it's more so about controlling the side so that Lissandra can move first or she can rotate after people, which is why he also takes the teleport to protect his jungler.
And this is where we're seeing Suning. They see what TOP are doing with those first 3 picks by trying to stack up and unlock that mid lane, and are dealing with it by stacking up with their own counter engages, their own ways to stall out these fights as best they can. It's just a hold game from Suning to deny TOP's plays and turn it on their head. That said, it's very risky because it relies on TOP making mistakes in the execution and Suning seeing the execution coming in advance.
There's also the added benefit that this style of composition that TOP have, yes, it fits in the same wheelhouse of what they've been running, assassin in the mid lane, strong river control, kill lane bottom, but there's scaling potential here. You have the likes of the Swain, you have the likes of an Aurelia in the mid lane versus something like a Talon, which will fall off a little bit. So if this does go super late game, which Suning have been known to fail to close games that they get leads on, there is the added benefit that come a 50-50 coin flip 5v5, that with the GP, with the Aurelia, that TOP could still win in a hyper late game situation.
I'm sure TOP don't want it to go to that situation, but I'm glad that they will be reassured that in case it goes that distance, they will have that luxury behind them.
I've seen a 4-head before, but I've never seen a 6-head like that, Dom.
That was just the sheer look of surprise. Did not expect to see myself on the screen there.
English casters.
As we get in to the Rift, it's TOP versus Suning in the battle for 4th place.
Now, quickly as we come into this game, I love the point that Raz made the last series when talking about multiple teleports being stacked on a team. So right now, Suning have 3. They've got Lissandra, they have Ashe, and they have Gnar. And what's interesting is in tandem with the Tahm Kench and the Ashe lane, it makes it really difficult and very dangerous for TOP to try to crack this map open and make early game snowball-oriented plays because of the defensive nature that the Summoner spell allows, and then also having it on a defensive-oriented composition. Lissandra's ultimate, the safety of Tahm Kench, the hawk shot of Ashe. So I feel like Suning read exactly what TOP wanted. They showed their hand early in the draft phase by picking their jungler and their mid lane rather early in rotation, and then just said, okay, come at us. We've got all the defense that we need.
So then, is that just what we're expecting from Suning? A passive laning phase, let that Kindred pick up jungle marks, invade whenever you have the vision and opportunity, and then try to snowball throughout the mid game? Because it might be a bit risky if they try to go for that sort of strategy against a team like TOP, who has been known for getting in the dirt. Is a gentle way of putting it.
I agree. It is risky, but I think that's exactly what they're going to try to do. Now, it should all be about FLICKR, what his pathing is going to be, and kind of playing around if he wants to look for the duels, if he's looking for something like a counter gank. Unless Cat and Chocho decide to step 2.
Just trading some damage.
There's no reason to do that, though, against the Ashe lane. Just let her push in. She's got the volley. She's gonna win. It's fine.
I don't know. Demon's Hand is like discount volley.
Yeah, but you need more points in Swain as well as the Catalyst before you really feel confident in that lane, especially across from an Alistar. If you've got Catalyst, if you've got Relic, and if you have Triumphant Roar, you're never moving from that lane. But don't mess it up before you get that.
Now, we did just see the Hawkshot spot out XX. Hacker went bottom side for Scuttle. Lost the 50-50 as the Scuttle Crab with the mark was on the top side. That was taken by XX, but like you said, he will be able to take the Raptor camp and at least deny some of the gold away from XX. Even going to use that smite to clear it out as quick as he can by leaping around, not wasting any mana with that Mounting Dread. And still Angel keeping his hold down in the mid lane.
That's really unfortunate from XX. Of course, we are on 8.14, which is why you can see the
funneling changes.
the funneling changes, which you can clearly read.
Yes.
Yep.
In the beginning, if you have the most gold, and then the rest.
What's your photo Photo memory, Dom.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I was going to comment on is the fact that Trundle XX saw that he was spotted out by the Hawkshot and then didn't take the opportunity to realize that Hacker would steal his Raptor camp. He's okay. He's got the claw.
Oh, and invade on the far side.
Yeah, and didn't look to trade Raptor camp. So I feel like that was a bit of a mistake for XX to fall into that. Ultimately, he'll be okay because he just walks down to his Krug camp, he'll back, respawn, and then walk towards top side of map. But feels a little bit bad, man.
Yeah, hopefully not respawn, hopefully just recall, and then get back into base.
I only respawn.
Only never.
If I ever have to press B.
Recall ever.
That's why I play Karthus and Alistar.
Get the most value out of those deaths as possible.
One direction.
Is pushing into Moyu, who's holding down the fort in the top lane. You can't see XX. Lands the pillar, but again, that's actually the stun landing. Flash burned out of Angel. That's exactly what we expected from the gank of TOP, but Angel still gets caught by it.
Now, you said he wasn't going to respawn, but here comes the counter gank.
Oh, that's an immediate flash. Mounting Dread for the slow as Hacker just trades a bit of damage onto XX. I say trade. It was really more of a gift given than received.
You were correct, Dom. He does get to recall. He didn't go from Krugs and then back into camp. He tried to force the flash. Does get the flash. I loved how Korn was playing with the Aurelia stun to try to lead Lysandre there and forcing that use of the summoner spell.
Again, Korn, we do know he's a mechanically talented player. Just compared to his competition, players like Xiaohu and Xie, it is so difficult. This time, though, he's matching against Angel, but that's a teleport bottom. That's Angel's teleport bottom. That's the slow onto Chocho. He just flashes back.
That's ambitious, is what that is. But, I mean, makes sense. The wave is completely neutralized in the mid lane. Didn't need to force to use it because TOP didn't take the back advantage to try to shove it into the tower and force Lysandre to use it on her own tower. So I actually like the flexibility there from Angel.
The side effect does mean that Hacker, with no mana in the river, is able to pick up his Scuttle Crab and get his first mark. Here you can see the teleport nerf, 60 seconds to cooldown.
I do want to kind of go back to your point on Korn, however, because I don't necessarily think it's a matter of Korn can't compete with the competition. That's definitely true, but it's why can't he compete with the competition if he's such a mechanically talented player? And I think it comes down to confidence. We've heard it time and time again when Korn got relegated back into the LSPL that he felt that that's where he deserved to be, that he wanted to prove that he could fight back into the LPL, and in high pressure situations you do start to see him crack a little bit in terms of I need to make the correct decision every single time in the fight, and he's just not that consistent. And for me, that is a confidence thing when I am looking at this type of player. But went to the World Finals in 2014 alongside the likes of Uzi and godlike Ackerman up into the top lane, so he definitely has the potential.
Yeah.
Just needs to believe that he has it.
Well, perhaps what better way to build that belief than starting from the bottom with TOP. This is a team that's just trying to get into playoffs. Maybe they could make the miracle run and try to get into the regional promotions just afterwards.
That would have to be a real deep run.
Oh, yeah. But hey, I mean, if you've got that momentum coming into Worlds, look at the IMA story. They made it. Actually, don't look at the IMA story.
Avert your eyes.
We remember that group stage.
They took down Flash Wolves. I call it a success.
Okay. We take that one win. Still, Suning just holding down the fort in this bottom lane. Chocho catching CS as best he can. No Catalyst just yet, looking for sustain. And we're keeping our eyes on XX and seeing what lanes he looks to affect next, because so far top lane has been pretty aggressively pushed for Xiao Ao.
And you'd have to assume that it's going to be that mid lane. Still a little bit difficult because Lysandre does have access to the claw, so we just need to watch how Angel uses that cooldown and how Hacker kind of sits in his back pocket, because naturally they're trying to cover the fact that Lysandre doesn't have access to the flash. Or you could try to force Lysandre to fight you in the river and invade and fight 2v2. So either camp mid or walk into the jungle and try to 2v2 fight.
So far, it's just farming in the jungle for now. XX trying to get level 6. He has achieved it and acquired Subjugate. So he should be able to lock someone down for just a little bit more, as is expected that Lysandre has complete and total wave clear and control. Now Suning are actually going to use this as an opportunity to head into the top lane. Moyu has been pushed into the turret non-stop. He's 10 CS down, and Hacker will get a chance to take this Scuttle. And
don't be confused. Yes, they could try to go for the dive on the top lane. As you're saying, Mo, you had to back up and really respect the fact that Lysandre is there. She has great dive potential once she's unlocked at level 6. But ultimately, Suning's plan is the same thing every single time. They control the pivot point of mid to allow Hacker to snowball himself. He also plays things like the Kindred, like the Nocturne, like the Graves, these very hard carry-oriented junglers that need a lot of resources to really tune up. And a lot of Suning's early game and early early mid-game. It's just about funneling as many resources onto him as possible, and that starts with controlling the mid lane with picks like Lissandra.
Now we do see a bit of a counter trade from TOP as XX cleverly takes the blast cone over the wall to deny any vision from Suning and take the first Infernal Dragon, which is pretty scary on the Swain Aurelia gangplank. Even forcing the Cannon Barrage out of Moyu in that top lane should slow out TOP a bit more.
And I love the fact that you bring up Aurelia specifically, because most Aurelias have been looking for like the Phage or the Merc or the Ninja Tabi, some sort of defensive stat. Korn went Sheen first, and on top of an Infernal, his kill pressure at level 6 is pretty absurd. So that itemization tells me that XX needs to be paying attention to Korn's lane and either kill Lissandra, force her back, or start unlocking Aurelia to fight 2v2 in the jungle, or rotate down to that bottom kill lane of Swain Alistar. Right now, TOP need to act on this itemization.
They have the opportunity, they have the timing as Angel picks up his blue buff. He's very close to full mana after that buff ticks up for a little bit. Now he's got an opportunity to control that mid wave as Korn does need to recall, picks himself up the Phage, makes his way out of base with boots and a control ward.
Look what Cat's doing. Now, he did make his back, so naturally he should be here anyway, clearing out vision, but they're securing that pathway into the mid lane. And something that TOP will do a lot is that if XX is unable to break the mid lane with just him, they will often bring Cat. He likes to unlock himself. He is a heavy roam support. Usually he's doing it on the likes of Pyke, but Alistar is his most played champion, and he did get it this time around. Same thing, though. He's hunting.
Now Flash is back up for Angel. We've actually got full summoner spells from Suning in terms of those flashes. Still missing a teleport from Fury and Xiao Al, but with the Dragon take, isn't huge incentive to fight outside of fighting for the sake of fighting, which, don't get me wrong, I love the LPL, but we're not that greedy.
They're about to get greedy. They really want to gank bottom. You can see TOP, Aurelia, and Trundle both were on the way pinging down towards the bottom lane. I think that they suspect that it's warded. There is a control ward just on top of Kench and Ashe, and they didn't have vision of Angel with his teleport available. So trying to respect that multiple teleport team composition and pulling back. But they're kind of missing the window where they really need to start snowballing on some of these lanes.
Bit of a tragedy for TOP as that window is becoming a little bit closer to Suning's mid-game power strike. Blade of the Ruined King nearly finished for Fury as the revolver is the pickup from Angel. Hacker hops over the wall without taking the blast cone. Just looking to potentially counter gank if XX were to look for anything. But so far, XX has been largely limited to his own jungle outside of that early gank that we just saw. So we do get a chance to just farm up and look for those core items as Chocho just bugs out on the classic animation canceling.
It does feel like things are kind of reaching a boiling point, however, for this early game that we've sat. We kind of have a couple of our key pieces of itemization. You know, the Sheens being completed, the first half of the sustain for the lanes. So if the game continues at this point, no one's really going to be forced out, and there is still kill pressure on things like the Aurelia and the Gangplank.
Korn needs to complete that Trinity Force and complete that burst. XX will find the pillar. Stun, ooh, misses as Angel kites it back. Meanwhile, Hacker is in the pit doing the Rift Herald, and TOP, they missed their gank. They're not even gonna bother checking the pit. Angel's even gonna walk over to help him finish off this Herald. Finally, the wave is cleared out, but it's a late reaction from TOP. Herald is down to 1,700. Korn steps up. That's even a teleport going in the snare. Didn't quite see who got that. Hacker doesn't have the smite as Flash is used by XX in order to escape from this. Stun will land as that's the Cannon Barrage. Yoon and Hacker chasing up, and they find that first blood with Xiao Al, and immediately utilizing the Herald. It was picked up by Hacker. Not only are they going to look for the kill, they're going to look for first brick.
And this is going to be a huge swing of power for Suning because they've got the wave pushing in. They have multiple members that made the rotation with the Abyssal Voyage, and this is what we're talking about of clean fundamentals and why I weighted this series towards Suning. They're just a bit more consistent, they're a bit more patient, and it's only in their greenness and kind of their inexperience that you can find cracks versus a team like TOP that does have those deep veterans like Korn, but they have too many fluctuating highs and lows. The fact that TOP had such a bad map read that they weren't taking the Herald or delayed to the rotation cost them huge there.
Even Chocho trying to use and cancel the teleport. Moyu using the late Cannon Barrage, just not having those power spikes and getting absolutely denied in that play. But Suning, they've taken that first brick. They've got themselves first blood onto Xiao Al with an assist on everyone except for Fury. But he's happy to hold that lane as he's still 14 CS ahead of Chocho and has now finished off his Blade of the Ruined King. Also, by the way, that is the teleport Ashe. there is no play cooler
than the arrow into
TP.
It's hard though.
It's real hard. I have tried it and missed. It feels real bad.
As an Ashe support connoisseur that has played it, and you have suffered through those games.
Yeah, I know.
I am definitely quite attuned to the throw the arrow for maximum stun duration from spawn, and then try to bait someone
Teleport
with a TP.
in. Go in, go in, go in. Never again. Well, but still, there's 30 seconds till this next Infernal Dragon. TOP have taken the first one, and Cat gets caught out placing a ward, forced to use the Unbreakable Will, Splode, and flashes over the wall as XX uses the pillar, and suddenly that Infernal looks a little bit less enticing for TOP and a bit better for Suning.
And suddenly we're starting to see more of those cracks in TOP.
Yeah.
They get a bit desperate. They only got one play style. Cat is a win more style of support, very similar to Road, and that he's never really going to turn the game around for you, but he could definitely help you close a game very quickly. He's got one direction, it's forward, and he's thinking about doing it now. Although Chocho...
Fury.
Ooh.
Fury steps up onto Chocho. Like, he's got the Blade of the Ruined King. He can heal up, and that's actually forcing the recall initiation out of TOP. Dragon has spawned, and the arrow will not be shot. That was actually just the Hawk shot, and it was the stun from Korn underneath that. Hacker just turns onto the Dragon. It's an easy snowball from Suning off of these micro mistakes from TOP.
Yeah, and unfortunately a lot of these paper cuts have started in the mid lane. There's now a massive pivot point for Suning, and they have full control over the bottom lane. So 2 areas of the map have collapsed for TOP. They no longer have any control over that bottom side jungle, including the Dragon Pit. And again, this feels like another series where Suning, they're calmly in the driver's seat. It's about now the systematic takedown of all of the outer structures.
Ooh.
Splits the wickets.
Yeah.
But the idea is sound, and it's not going to stall this tower going down anyway.
Fury walks up, the wave is cleared out, and TOP have to give it up. Not only is it first brick for Suning, it's going to be the second turret as well. Xiao Al has been working on top this entire time. He's still 14 CS ahead of Moyu. As Fury, he's just denying the minions.
And there has to be some criticism leveraged at Korn and XX. They had multiple opportunities where they could have revisited on the mid lane, try to punish the Lissandra for not having the flash, at least force her back defensively or make the play bottom lane. But you have an Alistar, you have a Swain, the Ashe and the Tahm Kench were pushed forward. Yeah, it's hard to gank the lane, but otherwise if you're just watching...
You gotta try.
Exactly, you're just passively losing. And now the map has kind of really collapsed in on itself, and the only Hail Mary that they have is that scaling potential with the Aurelia and the Gangplank. Now, there will be a moment where Gangplank and Aurelia figure out their first 2 items and they hit that massive power spike, and maybe TOP can climb back into this game on a back of a team fight win. But again, Suning, they're in the driver's seat. They should be quite systematic about how they're unlocking their Ashe, moving her around as well as with Lissandra, and continue to siege these towers. They don't have to fight TOP. They've got all of the tools to disengage.
And we already see that Suning are effectively moving that Ashe towards the mid lane. Angel on a 1-3-1 duty is quite scary as Black Cleaver is finished off. Xiao Al even picking up some daggers for more attack speed as he might be looking for a split push, but Hacker fancies himself a kill down here. Visions of Empire spotted that out and canceled it just in time. Fury and Yoon do not get the chance to collapse bottom, and Hacker is forced to walk in solo on a Gangplank. Doesn't like that.
I think that's the best play XX has made all game.
That was Chocho landing the Visions of Empire.
Oh, rip? Never mind. I tried to give it to him. I saw the pillar.
Pillar might have been next to it just after, perhaps. I don't know. Ooh, that's Yoon getting pulled in. He's got flash and cleanse knocked up. Late cleanse, early flash. Cannon barrage on top of him as they dive. Stopwatch. Korn looks for the Vanguard's edge. Still looking for the opening, but Angel goes in. A huge snare, but the knockup as it turns into an all-out melee, and Suning find themselves a double kill from Xiao Al. Oh boy, that went from real bad to real worse.
And now you have all of the gold stacked up on Suning. Fortunately for TOP, they don't have immediate access for a creep wave, but one is coming in. I think this is also going to be the inner mid-tower cracking before 20 minutes in the game.
This is real big. Suning continue to ride the wave forward. Fury right on top. He's hanging 10 as he breaks down the tier 2. And this map just got a whole lot bigger for Suning and a whole lot smaller for TOP.
I mean, the only silver lining for TOP fans is that Baron isn't available, because otherwise Suning would have just immediately walked towards the purple worm. We were talking about how there's going to be a small window where TOP maybe turn around a mid-game fight because Aurelia and GP are unlocked in itemization. They weren't quite there yet.
Corn thinks he's found himself a kill, but remember, Lamb's Respite is still up. That's used very early. He's walking in 1 versus 2, and you hate to see that happen. He dives in and still gets the kill, but Angel trying to chase him down, already using 1 snare, flashing the sidestep auto attack for another. Here comes the remaining collapse. Doesn't take the claw, but gets caught by Cat on the back. It ends up being a 1 for 2.
Still getting more kill gold onto the Aurelia, never going to be a bad thing. TOP don't really lose anything for it, just trading kill gold back and forth. So because Xiaoao has access to this tower, it's still slightly weighted for them, but not terrible for TOP. I feel like that's just kind of a gimme or a throwaway series of events.
That will help that Aurelia try to get towards 2 items a bit faster. Here's the play again. And let's look for the teleport.
Yeah, it looked good initially for TOP just because Yoon is forced to take so much damage it can't reposition, but you're then focusing down the Tom Kench, which, like you're saying, allows Angel to get this incredible TP down and then just synergize beautifully with the Gnar who then comes in. So Xiaoao, Angel, really the standout members on the back half of that fight. And hello?
That's a bit unlucky.
Is it unlucky if you die on the enemy side of the map?
Fury has died with Flash and Teleport being used and the arrow, so perhaps just trying to defend that top tier 1 turret and stall out the snowball from TOP, especially on the gangplank.
A bit of a flex.
Yeah. Now TOP are using that pressure, knowing the Ashe is dead, to push down the mid tier 1. Hacker is trying to clear out the wave as Angel has gone top. That's the primary wave clear here, but they managed to get to the wave in time and stall it out.
Okay, like you're saying, makes much more sense now that Moyo probably found that Ashe was trying to hold the wave top. Killed her, tried to give tempo back to TOP to siege up onto mid lane, but Suning managed to cover it. And huge shoutouts to Angel. I have a feeling we're going to see it.
No, it's a teleport in.
And he didn't even throw the arrow.
Here he goes. Boom! Melee, flash cleanse.
See? That's a key problem. Should have thrown the arrow
before.
He would have died before it got there.
Oh, yeah. And then as he dies, the arrow, boom.
I understand he has oranges. It wouldn't have made a difference, but it would have looked cooler.
Yeah. Maybe at least the surprise effect of it. But Angel, he's still holding down the fort in this top lane as TOP, they're starting to try to dig into the dirt and mud and pull Suning with them. And so far, it's opened up by breaking down a lot of health on that top tier 1. It hasn't opened up any turrets yet, but that's a lot of gold just waiting to fall into TOP's pockets.
And it's a really good point, Dom. They've effectively slowed the game down, or they've kind of hit a bit of a plateau. They're forcing Suning to ARAM with them, which can be dangerous because of the Ashe Arrow as well as the Lissandra engagement, but they are funneling the gold into the appropriate members, getting more items on that gangplank, getting more items on that Aurelia, and doing so quite safely, as well as setting up little traps like this. So I like the jello wrestling maneuver that TOP are forcing onto Suning. You know, come down, fight us at our level.
Yeah, now there's a 4-man collapse onto the top lane. No teleport from anyone on Suning, and Angel sees it coming and backs away in time. You've got to wonder about the real-life analog to this. Did Suning just walk up to, or did TOP just walk up to Suning and pull off the glove as Angel ults himself? There's the Abyssal Voyage. Vanguard's Edge was used by Corn, so a good reaction from Angel. Again, doesn't want to use that stopwatch as he doesn't have Zhonya's yet.
What they're trying to do is stall out for Xiaoao on the bottom side of the map. See how he's doing on that tower. Not terribly, but you're still giving TOP a lot more ground than I think they really deserve at this point. And it's because of arrows like that. You know, if you're not connecting those hard engage arrows, then you're not making use of your gold lead. And so Fury needs to be much more on point, which he's normally a very powerful and strong Ashe player, but just hasn't really hit that game-breaking arrow quite yet.
Now the Mountain Dragon has spawned already with that control in the mid lane, firing the arrow. TOP were forced to back up, and Suning will turn and take this Mountain Dragon off the back, but still waiting for those big cooldowns on the Ice Tomb from Angel, and of course the arrow from Fury, if he ever finds an opportunity to land one. But now we're past 20 minutes. The Baron has spawned. If we do see a large snowball, the cost is much, much higher than it was just a few minutes ago.
And it's actually much more likely that TOP can win a team fight at this point because of the itemization that's come through on Swain, Aurelia, as well as GP. They are actually quite strong as long as they don't mis-execute. Suning, they also can fight in this pocket, but you know, for the majority of the game, they've had the lead. Now it kind of feels like TOP have started to catch them a little bit in this sprint.
Suning still keeping the pace as there are 5,000 gold ahead, 3 turrets to 1, as they are still trying to deny TOP just a little bit more, but this is Suning starting to get a little dangerous. Their window of power is just about now and for the next few minutes, but 2 items are on the way for both Corn and Moyu.
Hit hard, hit fast.
If it goes to 3 items, then Suning might find themselves in trouble.
So now we're looking at 3 key abilities: the Abyssal Voyage, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and the Teleport from Angel. These 3 abilities are the most important because they're how they're going to start the fights. They're how they're going to split up the map, find someone who's caught out from TOP, and help break this open into a 4v5 advantage and hopefully into a Baron. If those 3 abilities don't connect onto key targets, then suddenly this game starts to weight towards TOP. But if Cat's going to face check like that every time...
He had a ward on top of Fury. He saw that they were there.
See him real well. Make real eye contact.
Make eye contact as you walk up and take those hits. And like, I will take this damage, and I will like it. Next dragon will be another mountain, but that's still a few minutes away as Cat is lunging out to try and get vision on the map. He's only got a single ward left and another control ward under that.
I've got it. We'll call him the Masochist.
Hey.
You know, like how Road is the Wanderer?
Yeah.
Cat, just he enjoys the pain.
Like a real cat. Just walks up and says, I will eat this, and I will like it. You left it here for me. No, I didn't. It was just there. You left it here for me.
I don't know what experiences you have with cats, but they don't sound enjoyable.
Cats are great. Love me some cats. Alrighty, Moyu is going to deny this red buff here. As it makes its way back to its nest.
Did he deny red buff, or did red buff deny everyone?
Look, red buff is a strong and independent buff. Don't need no one to carry it. But if someone wants to come along and take it, wow, that barrel.
Yeah, see? That's why you got to be scared of TOP right now. If Moyu actually is able to walk over to a fight, set up a barrel like that, Aurelia's just going to have a free-for-all.
Yeah. Look at that. That's with the Triforce, a BF Sword pickaxe, and a serrated Dirk for armor penetration. That's gonna hurt. He's level 15 already, max level on the parlay as Angel backs away from Chocho.
So now we need to kind of keep our eyes on Xiaoal and what he's going to do. Is he gonna try to play the 5v5 with the Gnar, with the Mega Gnar, or is his responsibility going to separate Moyu from walking up to these team fights and placing these barrels?
That's the pillar. Angel gets pulled back in by the Ravenous Flock, but is still able to take the Claw to safety. Again, both of those top laners in the bottom half of the map with teleport. So if a fight were to break out, they could join in, but instead the recall is just canceled, and Moyu happy to be absorbing all of this gold. He's still 50 CS down, but more than making up for it with that parlay passive.
Can't really leave these towers alone for much longer though, because Xiaoal was itemizing for side lane, so he is on split push duty. He just wants to push down all of these structures, keep this GP away from the team fights. Of course, he can still join with the Cannon Barrage.
And now look at that. Storm Razors is finished for Moyu. Plus the Triforce and the serrated Dirk.
It hurts.
Yeah, Fury is going to be feeling some pain.
It's a
just
clincher.
about everyone. Except for the Kench. Does Kench clench?
That's a great skin. Clench Kench?
Clench Kench. He's just walking around with a real tight face the whole time.
That would be the only time that I think that champion is acceptable to exist in this game.
Devour's a pretty strong thing, eh? Still 1,200 gold for Xiaoal in favor of that, as that 50 CS advantage. Another 1,700 gold lead for FLICKR. In the mid lane, it's only 200 gold lead for Angel. And then in the bottom lane, it's another 1,600 gold lead for Fury. So we're looking for Korn and Moyu to put out the majority of the damage in this upcoming, we presume, upcoming fight.
And I'm going to say it, I think TOP found massive success in this mid game. You know, fumbled the early game, XX Korn, they weren't as proactive as they needed to be into these lane phases, particularly around Cat and Chocho, but they successfully stalled out Suning. Fury didn't connect with these Ash Arrows outside of one big team fight that happened around 18 minutes in. I think TOP got exactly what they wanted, and they're feeling much more confident to try to make picks and to try to find these fights.
That's the pillar onto FLICKR. No Ravenous Flock to pull him back into place. As Fury, he's still stepping forward, holding on to the arrow. This fight is on the verge of breaking out, and while it's not breaking, Xiaoal still gets the chance to split push. There's Cat, but finally the turret goes down. The fight finally breaks out after the turret already goes down, but they're all grouped up in the Vanguard's edge. You can see Korn is doing massive damage. Kindred in the back drops the respite, but Korn with Hysterics chasing onto it. Late teleport from FLICKR to try to get him, but FLICKR is dead. Angel on the backside lands a two-man stun as Xiaoal joins in. Lands the slow flash to outplay it, but could they possibly outplay this? Xiaoal's got the ultimate ready, lands a stun, finds one, gets more damage onto XX, but Chocho, he walks up with the Demon's Hand. Xiaoal can't leap over the wall in time and dies. Moyu preps the barrels. 1, 2, 3.
And suddenly TOP are back into the game. They got the 2 items on their carries. They knew that it was only a matter of time, recognized when they were strong, pulled the trigger, and now have the Baron.
TOP taking it down. They find the fight that they need off a late teleport from Xiao Ao, and that will open up the game quite a bit. They've still only taken 1 turret so far, but this Baron should help break this open. Now Yoon is back up, but won't be able to make it in time to contest. TOP have got the momentum once again.
And remember, in my opinion, I feel that TOP have the superior scaling, or at least the superior scaling and a much easier composition to execute on. And here's the thing, I don't think this really has anything to do with the teleports. Obviously, in the breakdown of the fight, it's going to matter, but in reality, Suning shouldn't have been caught at all. That's where the wrong play is. If you're examining the team fight as the coach, you're saying, but you should have done this, it should have been like this, the TP was late. I'm like, no. Why did you get caught there? You have a Tahm Kench, you have Lysandra, you have an Ashe Arrow, and Xiao Ao is winning on the bottom side of the map. Let your Gnar split push. Do not get caught there. You're never going to win that.
And suddenly the window of opportunity that Suning had in that mid-game is getting smaller and smaller. Youmuu's picked up for Moyu after the Storm Razors. Sterix has been completed for Korn. We saw it in that last fight as he's building towards his 3rd item. Zeke's convergence for XX as he is ready to group up and shred through someone's defensive stats.
Now the options that Suning have is that they still have a lot of mobility on the composition. Triple teleport, Lysandra, Ashe, Tahm Kench, split pushing Gnar. They can still try to play the pick game, but I feel like the front to back 5v5, unless they just chain hard CC on multiple key priority targets, I don't think it's a viable option for them.
Now's not the time to be split pushing, as Recall finally started off for Xiao Ao, but the tier 2 already gone down along with the tier 1. TOP pushing onto the inhibitor turret. Finally, Xiao Ao makes his way back out, but the Baron is still up for 2 minutes. That's 4 full minion waves starting to batter down onto these turrets. And there we go, Xiao Ao's on the side with that Guardian Angel. Korn looking for the stun, but Fury kites it out.
If they group up and Cat goes in, TOP are going to try to end it off of this 1 Baron push. So Suning doing a good job spreading out, not giving Alistar his opportunity and his window in. But that guy's crazy. He'll do it.
He absolutely is. There's still a minion wave building up top for Xiao Ao. If Suning want to try to stall this out, they could try to push that onto the tier 2 turret, but TOP, they're providing the threat present right now. Fury, he gets hit by the Visions of Empire. The barrel finds Yoon. It's doing some big damage. Arrow lands into the front, but that's Cat knocking up. Fury gets pulled forward onto the Lamb's Respite, saved by Yoon, but it's only a limited amount of time. Xiao Ao's in the back. He's got the stun ready. Pins only 1 against the wall as Hacker kites it out. Jojo doesn't get the kill, but like you said, they've managed to kill Fury. They've managed to kill Angel, and now they'll turn onto Xiao Ao. Meanwhile, on the fountain, it's Yoon taking the Abyssal Voyage along with Hacker to survive, but TOP win 3 and turn onto the inhibitor.
And can Hacker get back in time? I think TOP have just won the game. I said that they're going to try to end it on the Baron. You had to watch Cat. Cat could smell it. Blood in the water. TOP are nothing but sharks.
And they turn onto the Nexus turrets. Hacker tries to step up, but it's too little too late. TOP take game 1 over Suning Gaming.
Defensive composition from Suning. They recognized what TOP wanted to do, and for majority of it, they did stall it out in the early game. I thought that Suning had a great plan. The initial execution was correct, but again, these mid-game blunders that continuously plague them. They are the 4th slowest team in the LPL out of 14 teams. That's not a great average game time, and it's because of mistakes in the mid-game like this.
And what we used to commend Suning for, their excellent early game, still shines through in this game against TOP, despite the attempted ganks towards that mid lane, but they just weren't able to do anything with it. I mean, you can see that gold got close to even at the very end, with TOP reclaiming control, but 24 to 28 minutes is where TOP need to spend the most time in their scrims for the next few weeks if they want to try to make a run towards playoffs, because again, this is a team that was denied playoffs by points. They had the wins, but at the last second, they lost out on points.
Now, TOP's shortcomings, they do feel like they're individual decision-making issues. Think of how many times that game we saw Cat kind of face-checking, giving away his health bar when they were trying to set up or manufacture a big fight. They need the Alistar to be ready to do that because he's their primary engage point, but they are really good at recognizing when they're strong. You know, when Cat is stepping forward to place that vision, it's because they understand, okay, we can set a trap, we can start migrating Suning into this trap, we can try to force a fight, but it's just a little bit too early, too late. So there's good elements and there's bad elements to how that game played out for TOP. Bad individual decision making, great team communication to recognize when they're strong and when they can take the lead.
And TOP finding those openings will close out that game 1. Of course, we do have to talk about the picks and bans for how that happened, because they showed their strategy very early on. Suning thought they were able to even get the counter strategy to that by taking the Tom Kench, by taking the denial with that Kindred, but again, it keeps coming down to the execution for this team. And
a composition like this, or a draft like this, I actually love it from both teams, because I feel like there's not a lot of surprises here. Everyone knew it was going to happen. I feel like each team had their strategy. You know, TOP, they want to play that that early game, have those kill lanes, and then they have the security net of going late game by having the GP. So, you know, maybe going back to that ban in second phase of not taking away something like the Gnar, letting it go through and then getting a GP Gnar matchup as opposed to banning Gnar and then maybe he picks Mundo or something like that. The only thing that I would change from Suning's draft is late game insurance policy. You know, the fact that it's an Ashe versus something like a Kai'Sa. I still like the Ashe here, but you know, either then you have to change up Lissandra, maybe go for a Ryze where you still get that wave clear presence as well as the hard CC, but then have the late game scaling potential.
Yeah, and of course it still comes back to the execution of that Ashe as well, because during the mid game she was looking for arrows. We saw Fury trying to find picks, even kiting it out as best he can in those team fights, because Ashe so good at shredding tanks once you get to 3 or 4 items, but actually getting to that point is really tough, especially when you've got a Gangplank Trundle running at you. You're really not going to get away from those barrels when there's a pillar of filth.
And Suning did do it successfully at one point. I believe it was about 17 minutes in the mid game where they got the big wombo combo with Lissandra and the Gnar, and you know, again, that's where they needed to fight. Unfortunately, though, it was at 17 minutes and not 20 minutes. They couldn't immediately snowball it into something like a Baron. So they did a great job in the early game. They took down early mid-tier 2. They got the big wombo combo. They understood when they needed to hit with their composition, and they hit so hard, but you couldn't grab anything from it. So again, it's balancing out where their power points are, making sure that they have champions that are strong at level, you know, 6, level 11, and level 16. And that's kind of the last hurdle that they need to get over, is they didn't have any strong champions at level 16. You know, they didn't have that big late game boom potential.
Yeah, but we are still seeing the team try to play around that, though, as if they can. Their early and mid game seems to be the first 2 steps that they can take, but closing it out in the late game has always been the problem for them. Is that just draft then? Or do you think this is something more inherent to the players? Because even when we see them take more late game compositions, their early games are good, but their late games are not. Is this a player thing, or is this a pick thing?
I mean, it's definitely both. You can go into that game, and again, when I'm talking about the big team fight that they lost, which allowed TOP to get the Baron, you look at that and you say, no, the problem wasn't the execution of the team fight. The problem was that you got caught there in the first place.
Yes.
You didn't need to be there. You had all the tools to disengage from that. You have a very defensive composition.
We've actually got that replay we can bring up and take a look.
Boom.
Yeah, in just a moment, we'll bring that up on your screen for you. But again, it's Suning getting caught out of position when they don't need to be.
Yeah, because look at the bottom side of your map. Shao, he's in the home stretch. He's got his arms open. He's like, guys, just leave me alone in this lane. I'm totally fine right now. We can. Okay, I guess I have to come. And at this point, I would have canceled the TP because everyone is dead, and he should be pressing the eject button.
Yeah, the late cancel. Moyu using his own defensive teleport to chase Angel down on the backside as Xiao Al tries to go 1v3. Moyu doesn't even care about the turret at this point.
So, again, a situation like this has nothing to do with draft. You shouldn't have gotten caught here. That's all the team. That's all the inexperience and the decision-making. Yeah, the draft could have made it easier because you could have been put in a situation where maybe you could fight a fight at that point, but as a team, you need to recognize, okay, we've got a lot of mobility. We can no longer 5v5 them, but we can outpace them on the map with the Abyssal Voyage, with the triple teleports, and with the split push Gnar.
So then if you're a coach for this team, how do you train a team to play better during these stages of the game? Because it's so consistent that we see this problem for Suning. It really seems to be the last thing holding them back. If they're able to get a good late game, this is a team that could contest. Sorry, I feel like my cord has fallen off. This is a team that could contest for playoffs and perhaps even beyond.
I would make it a little bit easier in terms of composition. I would play around Angel right now. He's the youngest member on the team, or at least the newest member joining the squad, and he has really strong performances on things like Lissandra, like Orianna, and these two champions are actually very easy to teach teams on because they have these giant R buttons that you just have to play on. You're like, if this cooldown is up, you just walk into a 5v5 and you smash kids with it. So play a more traditional wombo combo style of comp. The Gnar kind of works in this instance, but just make it even more simple than that. You know, grab hold of things like the Alistar, grab hold of things like a Shin, have something like a Varus, which can spread the damage a bit earlier and have a bit more CC than something like, it's hard to say against an Ashe. Like, you can see kind of the direction that they're going, but just a bit more hard scaling potential.
Something to round it out a little bit more. But again,
or even Orianna versus Lissandra.
Could be a choice. Speaking of that, Nar, Moyu will take our MVP for that Game 1 victory to TOP. Going 3-1-5, 41% of his team's damage.
I mean, I guess that makes sense when you do the damage breakdown. I feel like Moyu wasn't really the standout there outside of his barrels, but he did his job.
Sometimes that's all you need, the barrels to land it down. If that had been an Ornn instead, would that have been MVP to someone else?
I don't know. I feel like whenever TOP get MVP, it's either because Corrin gets fed out of his mind and just hard carries, or the rest of the team just really play well together. So in this case, I feel like, okay, yeah, give it to the GP. He did the massive damage. He got some nice barrels, but ultimately I feel like that was a team effort for TOP to pull back the early game, understand when they were strong, and then everyone did their part.
Yeah, a good reaction from TOP to recover in that Game 1 victory. Of course, Suning will get the chance to try and turn it around in Game 2. Question is, how did they do that? Did they try to end the game before 30 minutes and ignore late game completely, as they might have tried with this game, or do they try to adapt and grow?
I would like them to get a hold of the Rise. It was banned in phase number 2, and I think that they should just prioritize it a little bit more heavily.
Okay, well, we'll get to see what that draft is going to be in just a few minutes. But that being said, we've got that coming at you in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. The LPL is going to be right back after just a short break.
想要在这里生存下去，必须倾尽所有。